Laura, Assistant Field Manager for the Reading BLM.
Paul Loser, Trinity PUD.
Mike McFadden, Recreation Staff, West Side.
Carol Fall, North Lake resident, collaborative member.
Pat Frost, North Lake resident, and apologizing, I'm gonna leave early to go visit a friend at the hospital.
Okay, online, we have Tara.
Good morning, everyone. Tara Jones, District Ranger for the South Fork and Trinity River Management Units. Sorry I couldn't be there in person today.
Thanks for joining us, Tara. Jim.
Let's see, am I live or am I muted?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, good deal. I'm used to using Teams, which is what we use in-house, so I have to remember where the buttons are when I do Zoom. Jim Dees, I'm the Recreation Manager in Mad River Ranger District of Six Rivers National Forest.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Jim. Joe.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Joe Stevendick. I'm a National Recreation Area Program Manager, detailed throughout the balance of the summer. Sarah Akridge has a doctor's appointment. We'll be joining midstream a little later on.
Great. Thanks for being here, Joe. And Amanda.
Hey everyone, Amanda Berger here from Ascend Wilderness Experience.
I think that's everybody so far. So I'll go ahead and turn over facilitating to Jim.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Well, good to see everybody again this morning. Beautiful day. And we will just get right to it here with our BLM updates. Jennifer. Okay. Tag team there.
Yeah, cool. So a few updates. I wasn't able to be here last time and I sent an email where I unfortunately said we're fully staffed. And then of course,
Yeah.
and one of my maintenance guys went back to Whiskey Town, which is good for him, sad for us. So we're still pretty good, but we'll wait till we see some of our rec fees come in before we refill that. The big stuff, I brought our business plan.
Wow,
It's signed. Somewhere in here, signed.
cool.
And the Federal Register notice posted yesterday.
Holy moly,
So,
we were on it.
yeah, it only took- literally when I started this job 2.5 years ago, this was my first assignment from Jennifer. So it only took 2.5 years. But yeah, very excited. So the campgrounds, the existing campgrounds, we are able to increase their fees when we open. So we opened last Friday, a week ago. And we were able to implement the new fees. So Douglas City is now $20. Steel Ridge and Junction City are now $15. Steiner Flat is still closed for this season. Once you publish in the Federal Register, it takes 6 months before you can implement the fee. It's like truly a notice to the public. So it has to be there for 6 months before you implement it. So we'll be working on Steiner Flat upgrades this summer and then maybe a rename too. We're talking about rebranding in there. And then we'll implement a $15 fee there, hopefully next season. So yeah,
Cool.
we're very excited. Hopefully we just start seeing the rec fees trickle in. We'll see how many people are actually paying the new fee versus just pay the old fee.
Paying a fee at all.
Or pay a fee at all, right? But yeah, we're very excited about it. Any questions on the campground stuff?
Do you have campground hosts at each of your campgrounds?
Yes, we were able to get 3 this year.
Oh,
They
cool.
seem like a good crop.
Good.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
volunteer, right?
Yes, volunteer, but we do give a stipend.
Okay.
So yeah,
Did you see all the broom pulling that we did in Junction City Campground?
yes. I also saw that it was left there.
Or they're coming back and they're gonna take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, the broom this year has been out of control everywhere,
Wow,
so
yeah. Colorful.
Yeah, color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say with Steiner, we're thinking through some options of more of like a group site versus a traditional campsite. So we're still kind of working on that. If any of you have specific thoughts on that, happy to kind of talk offline about that.
Yeah, with regard to my understanding was that that was sort of a TRRP project as far as like the actual pole itself.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a whole bunch more on the other side of the highway there, but there's a contractor that's supposed to be coming in like imminently. And one of their jobs is to clean all that stuff out.
Yeah, and they're gonna bury it under the spoils, I think.
That's what I was gathering. So,
Yeah.
yep. So hopefully it'll be gone soon.
Yes. So talking about TRRP, hopefully TRRP was able to receive some bipartisan infrastructure law, resilient recreation funding. I had been completely unsuccessful in getting BLM to fund me for any of these projects, but BOR also had access to this money. They applied basically on our behalf and then are going to give us the money to do upgrades and maintenance in our campground. So our Junction City water system is broken, so we'll be replacing that probably next year. The upgrades at Steiner Flat will be paid for, and then a bunch of like dead tree, hazard tree work that we've been doing over the years, just kind of like out of our operating budget, be able to like back pay ourselves a little bit for that. So yeah, really excited to see that come through, and thank you TRP. Yeah, oh, and we'll be putting in a bathroom at Grapevine with that money too, the swimming hole on the North Fork.
Nice.
Yeah, there's.
They even make us excited, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. For that 4th of July rave that happens there every year. If you haven't been, it is quite the sight. And then also with TRP, they're doing their Upper Connor Creek project, which is like Junction City Gravel Bar. That's what we often call it. There's the boat ramp there. And they are including in that design, like basically a rec site, similar to like Lorenz Gulch or something, where there'll be a bathroom, maybe some tables, kiosk, that sort of thing with a boat ramp. I mean, yeah, better boat ramp maybe than was there before. That's the goal. And a self-maintaining one, they like have some hydraulic stuff they're trying to do so that it won't sediment in. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that. And that should happen this summer. And then the last thing is Beaverville Community Forest. Just wanted to mention that we are aware of encampments in there and are working on resolving some of that stuff, but it's a slow process to actually resolve some of that stuff. Oh, and then bridges in the Weaverville Community Forest. We might talk about this at the Community Forest Steering Committee meeting. But they are aging to the point of not passing bridge inspections. So we need to either replace them or remove them. There's a few that seem like they could be removed. And then 1 or 2 that we might have to replace.
Yeah, most of those are about 12 years old.
Yeah. Yours are also, there's
Yeah.
a few that are aging.
Yeah, we just replaced the pole bridge not long ago. We did it with high beams because I don't ever want to do that again.
Yeah.
We can redeck it. But yeah.
So yeah, we'll be.
We had a report out about that from Jack Leinhardt, who'd recently been out there, and he said one of them was particularly bad, but he just thought it was just resurfacing, that he didn't think it was structural.
So bridges have like a special program in the BLM. They have to be inspected by like a bridge inspector. So they came out and they gave us a report. And we basically have to do what they say. So yeah, one of them is just redecking. There's, and maybe like a railing, and then one, I think they looked like underneath and stuff and suggested that it's not like imminent, but in the next few years, it would become a safety hazard.
And
Yeah,
and if you have a specific bridge that you
Oh,
know something
sorry.
about that I don't know.
On the Weaver Basin trails, there's one that needs redecking, I think.
Which one is it?
It's like one of the bottom ones. Garden Gulch, East Garden Gulch. Maybe. I can figure it out and send it to you.
Yeah, let me know, because I think it's actually a user created bridge you're talking about, I think.
Okay.
So probably the answer is we tear it out.
Yes. Yeah, I think you could easily tear out some of the bridges in there and
Jimmy Love used to live there on the end of Easter, and he loved bridges, and he'd go to get all the posts
Yeah.
that were broke off, and he built so many janky bridges, a lot of them. on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like older school, I think, the trails. Like we,
It's just footbridge.
some of the ones in the community forest, yeah, we would, at this point, we would just take them out and kind of redo the trail with.
There's one out at the
We
web.
wouldn't need to.
Go
need
to.
inspect.
That one's got it out.
The old Scott Eberly Bridge at the wetlands.
Yeah, that one's got
That
to
one's-
do.
That was like one of the like full blown pole bridges. That
Yeah.
was,
It was one of two. The other one was up on East Weaver.
that's the one that we replaced.
Yeah.
With the I-beams and the redwood decking and all that stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, we can maybe talk about it more at the Weaverville Community Forest
Yes,
meeting.
please bring it up.
Yeah, just because, you guys are the ones who see it throughout the seasons. And it's easy enough to be like, oh, we could rip that out. But if people are using the trail in the winter and it is really wet in there, then we might consider something. So, yeah, we'll talk more about it and we can share the report.
That'd be great. Awesome. Thank you.
That's all I got. Oh, last thing, I attended the single track summit that the Watershed Center put on. It was really awesome. So it's very mountain bike focused, but it was a cool group of people. And I think the kind of trail groups are committed to putting it on in the North State every year, kind of. So I think next year they're talking about Shasta. And yeah, it was really a really good event. So I would just encourage anyone in this group to think about attending. I know Susan? No, Russ. And yeah,
Mullen.
yeah, he attended. So
Well, thank you very much. Anything else from BLM?
Just a note that we're in the home stretch on the RMP,
Wow.
so 109 days. I may or may not have a countdown clock on the wall on this. Until we should have hopefully for a final decision, so
Cool.
the proposed final should be out here relatively soon for people to look at, and then essentially opens a protest period. So we're kind of there's light maybe at the end of the tunnel related to the RMP finally, I think probably should.
Very good.
So look for that. We'll make sure everybody sees it when it comes back out for one last public look.
Okay. Any other questions for BLM? Seeing anything up there? Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Forest Service. So we have 6 rivers up. Jim, you wanna take it away?
Yeah, good morning. Let's see if there we go. Good morning. Busy time of year. It's the time of year where no matter what I'm working on, wishing I could be working on 3 other things. I did send one of our techs up to the training we were just talking about in Weaverville, and he came back glowing about it. So he
was
second.
amazing. He
Yeah,
was absolutely amazing.
Jeff is a treasure. We were lucky to get him. He's my handyman, jack of all trades. He's not a big fan of computer work, but he loves doing anything out in the field. So he's a outstanding asset to our team. A lot of what he does during the summer is works with our youth crews, which is a big part of what we're gearing up for right now. We'll have California Conservation Crew up here for 6 weeks, starting this month. And then starting in late June, we will have our own youth conservation corps working for 6 weeks from late June through early August. I put a couple of flyers up for that in the Zoom chat. I don't know how many of you can see it if you're there in the room. but the files are there if anybody wants to get copies of them. And we are still looking for a couple more. We've got 5 likely candidates. We'd like to have at least 6. So if you know someone who's a likely candidate and they're within a realistic commuting distance of Mad River, then send them our way. We have a lot of great projects planned for them. Last year's crew did endangered species protection with some of our with our Lassic lupin. They did some sensitive habitat protection, building cattle exclusion, rustic split rail fences. I mean, they got out there and split their own cedar logs and built a rustic split rail fence around some vernal pool habitat to keep cows out of it. They rehabilitated a couple of our trails. They spent time with forestry doing timber stand assessments. They spent time with fire and fuels doing fuels reduction. And so we try to expose them to everything we do here at the ranger station. And last year's crew was a great success, and we're excited for our second year this summer. And that's mostly what's on my mind now. At our campgrounds, we do have it's been called to our attention by visitors that we maybe have some conflicts between people who want to pull their motorboats up to the beach at our developed campgrounds and little kids who want to go swimming at the beach, and parents who are worried about their little kids swimming at the beach. We don't have boat ramps at our campgrounds, but it's pretty common for people to put in at the marina, come set up camp over at the campground. You know, like part of the family comes over and sits their camp up at the campground while somebody else is putting the boat in the water, and then they bring the boat around to the campground. And I've been here, this will be my 3rd summer. The first couple of years, it was sort of an existing practice, and I just sort of observed it. But now it's been called to our attention that it's creating some conflicts. And so one of the questions I had for the Brain Trust at this meeting was, what have you seen other places where motorboat traffic is common? And have you seen any particular ways to address this that you thought were best practices? And with that, I'll be quiet and just listen for a minute.
We do have that at Alpine View Campground. People launch their boat and then they, same thing, pull up on the beach next to the campsites. Haven't had any complaints that I know of about that.
And it's not really very beachy.
Something you might consider, Jim, is getting some buoys on a rope and just roping off a small area that's,
That's what I've seen.
just for the swimmers.
I think they had it at Clark Springs
Yeah,
one summer,
yeah.
just a designated swimming area and boats stay out of it.
I don't believe your reservoir goes up and down a whole lot, does it?
Yeah, not a whole lot. It does some. Our overall beachfront is pretty small. So,
So
we start roping it off and dividing it. There's not a whole lot to divide, but that's something we could certainly look at.
Yeah, because even just a 200-foot string of those buoys, if you made a little 50 by 50 box for the kids to swim in, I think the boaters would agree that that's not out of hand. And as long as your lake isn't going up and down so fast that you're got buoys laying on the beach one day and then, way out there where you can't even swim to them the next, you should be fine with, just moving them once a month or something.
All right.
I think that's what they have at like Lake Britain. They have they have a boat launch in one area and then they have an area that's buoyed off for people to use the beach so that they don't end up with boats right on the beach.
Yeah.
Storage.
You could also ask Whiskey Town if they have any thoughts, because I think they've had not motorized boats, but people launching non-motorized boats or like kayaks and paddle boards in swimming areas. And I think they're trying to deal with some conflict there.
In fact, I think that when you visitor center, there's a sign that addresses that specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, they have swim beaches there at Whiskey Town.
Yeah.
And it's all roped off with buoys.
Yeah. The other concerns that we have with it is anytime we got people trying to put their boats in there, then that puts us in a position of having to inspect for the mussel stickers, because we do that here with Ruth Lake. We're not too worried about the people with paddle boats, with canoes and kayaks, because just feel like that represents less of a threat to swimmers. The more the motorboats is, especially motorboats combined with beer, that we worry about a little bit. But we haven't reached any resolution on what we want to do. We're just starting to have those conversations and wondering what other people had already done to address it. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Is that it, Jim?
That's all I have for now. I could take your next
Sure.
2 hours and talk about all the different things I'm doing, but I think those are the things that would be of most interest to you.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Any questions, comments for Jim? Right, seeing none, thank you very much. Good report. Okay, up next, we've got Shasta Trinity. Tara? Are you, there you are.
I'll probably
Right.
just kick it over to Mike pretty quick. I want to say I'm impressed that Jen knew the setup at Lake Britton, which may be the greenest, most algae-filled lake in Northern California. Yeah, growing up in Bernie, I went to some of the nice lakes on the Trinity side and around Reading, and I was like, oh wow, you can actually see through this stuff. So
We don't swim at Lake Britton, Tara, but I have a 13-year-old that has drugged me to like every lake, reservoir, and stream he can possibly force me to go to fish.
there you go.
That is how I know Lake Britton.
Lake Britton has some good crappie fishing for sure. Okay, so for our update, I think Mike is going to give you some of the specifics. We have been thrilled to say we've been very successful in increasing our staffing. We've added quite a bit from our pack stock program to our developed rec to our trails, and with that, I'm going to kick it over to Mike. So take away, Mike, and I'll fill in any blanks that I need to.
Okey doke. Busy spring for sure. I'll just start going down my little list I have here. If you guys have a question, holler out or bookmark it in your brain, and after I'm done and shut up for a minute, you can ask me the question then, however you'd like. So Ackerman, we're in the middle of kind of overhauling that one. We're not in the middle, we're on the tail end of it. We had some hazard trees that had to come out, and we replaced a bunch of barriers and things like that. It's in pretty good shape. And speaking of the Scott's broom, I was in between turns loading dump trailers with the excavator, and I think I ripped out about an acre of Scott's broom while I was waiting for the trailers to come back. It was just, some of that stuff could go to the mill. Big Scott's.
Old growth, huh?
Yeah. I was scared a spotted owl might fly out of there. But anyhow. So, and then several of our other campgrounds on the lake, and we're having dead tree issues just like you guys. They're just eating our lunch. The trees are dying so fast, we can't hardly keep up with them. Most of the lake campgrounds aren't open yet, so we're taking our time to try to fish out the ones that are inside, cause trouble, and not just open the road, but actually kind of clean them up the best we can. Downriver, all this boat launches and campgrounds, they've been getting a pretty good attack this week. We started, I think, 30 Smart Center folks, and a lot of them are pretty good on the dumb end of a weed eater, and we are weed eating like mad down there and cleaning all that stuff up. So those campgrounds should be in pretty good shape. I don't think the weed eating is going to need to get done again unless we get some more rains. Bowerman boat launch, we still don't have the courtesy dock in, but we do have the parts on order, or SRC does, I should say. Stewart Fork boat launch, we geared up to open that one with the lake coming and going up and down. But we've already got the pylons out of the water again. We're not going to open that boat launch. We were really hoping we could pull off a month or two this summer and have that open, but it's just not going to happen. So
People are launching there.
it's not open. That's all I can say. I've seen people cruise through stop signs and do 60 at a 55. Yeah, not much we can do.
Is it posted that it's not open?
Oh, yeah, it says closed, ramps closed, unsafe, all that. There's no Iron Ranger to,
Enter at your own risk.
it's closed.
Yeah.
We don't say enter at our own.
I think people think it's free because it's closed.
Okay.
But I will say most of the people that we've seen, they actually are putting kayaks in up at Trinity Alps and kayaking down and taking out there.
How cool.
Yeah.
Fun for them. Right on.
But I saw a pontoon boat launch there the other day.
Mm.
Wow.
Well, physically it can be done, but it is.
It's nothing there, but not on the ramp.
Yeah, they push,
They
just
pull
push
up
off
the
the
side to the
side.
That's funny. Huh. Well, people are gonna do what they're gonna do without enforcement.
Got it. All right, anyway.
East Weaver Creek Campground, that had a whole lot of dead trees in it and on the other side of the creek that could easily impact the campgrounds. And so, that one, I think we probably cut down at least 100 trees a couple weeks ago. It's kind of a mess. It's gonna, like, anytime you build a cake, you gotta break eggs. So it's ugly. It's gonna get better. We are not done cleaning some of those messes up. But it's safe and open. That was the number one thing we wanted was as we know, boat launches when closed, people use them. Same thing with campgrounds in the day use areas and those trails in those areas. Having a flag up that says closed wasn't gonna save somebody if a limb fell out of the trees. You know, I was watching kids play in the creek under, dead trees that probably gonna stand for the next 50 years, but the limbs that are this big around are not gonna hang out for 50 years. And I just kind of lost my mind. And so we either close the campground for good or we fix it, and we got it fixed. So that was cool.
Everything on that far side of the creek was dead. Like that was all more tree mortality that you took out there, because
Most of those died because the ditch that ran above it
yeah,
created an artificial, hydrology there between the ditch and the creek. And when the ditch went dry, and those trees just died like,
it's
not the water.
different. Like it doesn't feel like a forest anymore in there. Like,
Oh.
and it's like there was a lot of trees. Like,
Yeah, there was. And
it's all open all the way across the creek, and you can see the campground, and it's not all enclosed. I guess I didn't realize how many of them had already died.
yeah, we left some that are a shade of green, but they're dead. Just because we knew it's like, well, let's not start knocking down the ones that appear to be alive, because we had to knock down so many trees in there. So we're not done yet. Next year, this time we'll probably be falling another dozen or so trees. It's just, there's a huge amount of mortality in there, and we got to keep it safe for people.
Yeah, I mean, we drove by like Douglas City this morning and like they took out so many trees there, but like, I think we all just need to realize like, it's gonna be like an oaky madrone campground at a certain point. Like the big firs and stuff are not gonna last in there.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can really do about it.
Yeah, most of those conifers never belonged there. I mean, if we'd have been in a natural system, they never would have grown to begin with past, knee high. So, nature's kind of correcting itself to a certain extent.
Yep.
And so, yeah, like I said, we're gonna be cutting a lot more before it's all over. And you guys know about the whole Trinity Lake projects up there in the campgrounds, that the NRA is gonna be removing a lot of material in there as well. So, it's just a sad reality of where we are with our forests right now, with the health of them and the results of previous management or lack of management, or however you want to say it. These are the lemons we have, and we're trying to make the best lemonade we can. Let's see. As far as the other boat launches and docks go, Fairview boat launch is open with a dock. Minersville's open, but it doesn't have the courtesy dock. Bowerman's open, should have a dock, but we don't have the parts for it, so no dock there. Trinity Center's open with a dock, but it doesn't have the fuel yet. That's supposed to be coming very soon. We're putting our boat in the water today, but we only have one operator for our boat, and we're working on fixing that as well. But that's going in today, and he's gonna start working on the floating toilets to get them ready to go so we can open them up. One of them, though, we're gonna have to haul out of the lake and get rid of it. It's is no longer repairable. And the set of toilets that are in that lake, they no longer make the parts for them. You can't order them. So as those toilets die, we're going to be removing them one by one, and we'll be looking into a way to get a new toilet system put in there for people to use when they're floating around the lake. The floating toilet should be open on Memorial Day.
Clark Springs?
What's
I
that?
missed Clark Springs, or did you say anything about
I didn't say anything about it.
Okay.
I missed Clark Springs.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul. It should be opening with a courtesy dock. Have you been?
it? I haven't been down.
Yeah, Clark Springs has the courtesy dock.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Docks in the water.
Yep, thank you for that. We opened Clark Springs early because of the Bowerman vandalism. So normally Clark Springs wouldn't be open yet, but we opened it early to make up for the one that got vandalized. Captain's Point is closed, the campground there due to hazard tree. Even the ones that are surrounded by lakes are dying, so we're gonna work on getting that open back up, but it's just one of the things. It's a matter of volume. We have so many places we're trying to reduce the hazard trees from, and Captain's Point's kind of fell off the radar for a minute, but it's
It's included in the camps project, isn't it?
Yeah,
cool.
it's in Trinity camps.
But we still need to
Yeah.
knock down the dead ones that are there now before we can open it. Yeah, that was the plan. And then as far as trails go, we have a 20-person crew out at West Low Gap and working in the Humboldt Trail and the Yola Bolas. We have a 20-person crew at the East Fork of New River Trailhead, and they're cutting towards Limestone Ridge. We're trying to get them clear to Salmon Summit because 2 crews are going to be moving in at the fall in the Salmon Summit. And it's kind of a lightning magnet across there, and we want to make sure they have a back door to walk quickly out if they need to. We don't want to get them in a situation where people are feeling uncomfortable. But also be sure nice to have all those trails opened up before hunting season hits. Limestone Ridge is pretty tight on my radar, and Salmon Summit, those have not been opened since I've been here. So it's really hoping to get those open this summer. Next summer we'll finish it. So we have those 2 crews. We also have, we're working with the Watershed Center, doing the final build out on Weaverville Community Forest Phase 2. So they're off today because they're on 410s, but they're working on the Four Corners area, building that reroute. We got the water bars in on the Day Ranch connector. The 5 Cent Gulch connector trail is completed. We got a 20-person Smart Center crew out doing the rehab around those areas and the final rake and stuff, because the Watershed Center is mostly using a couple of tractors to build with. And then we got this army of rake operators and shovelers behind them to tidy it all up, along with other little resource things they're working on in the area. Yeah, that's pretty much my report.
Cool.
Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So Mike, so I know this isn't Forest Service, but Pinewood Cove, do you know what the status? It was up for sale for a while. Did it?
I don't know the status.
No, girl?
No, they took the first.
Did you notice though that the signs are
It's
down?
open now, and they took the for sale sign down. I did notice that.
You don't know if it's sold or not?
I don't know.
That's on Lewis.
Our understanding was.
No, Pinewood's.
Okay.
Our understanding was a church group bought it. As a private, but it's just open for the general public right now, it looks like.
Oh, yeah, I know which campground. One with the big beer sign out front.
Yes.
Can you drive by?
sale.
Yeah,
Right after it's through.
right at, they've got a boat launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their
Pool and.
their little dock.
They have a
system,
store.
Dock is in the water.
So I had a
What's the status of the Weaverville Community Forest Phase 2, the NEPA itself?
Phase 1 and 2 were wrapped up.
Do you have anything different than that?
Yep, phase 2 is still getting untangled. There were some difficulties with the ARC report where it's one of our priorities and we're working diligently on it. But that's the status of WCF phase 2.
There you have it.
All right, thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike or?
Yeah, I had a couple. So there's a map that the Forest Service puts out that shows where the toilets are on the lake. So are you gonna update that map if we're moving or moving toilets around? Cause that's what they hand out. And that's where, if you're out on the lake, you're going, where's the closest toilet? Oh, it's over there. Oh, no, it's not over there.
There's no sign that says.
Loading.
Go left.
I can see Joe's showing. I'll talk to Joe about that. This is the first, I didn't know we had that map, so I just heard that.
It's the lake map that shows, the one they hand out when you rent a boat, that map. Yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway, maybe put something online if you've got an update or something, but yeah, I just forget that one. Yeah, so I would suggest that somehow, if you're gonna be changing that around, cause when we rented a houseboat, they hand you the map and you say, here's where the toilets are. Well, no.
with some 80-year-olds.
Yeah, we had some 80-year-olds in the boat, so like, oh, yeah.
We do the same thing every year with our 80-year-olds, but we get the boat that has the toilet on it.
Oh, well. This was yeah, it was what do you want to call it?
They use.
No, so we bid on a fire department. You get the boat for the day thing, so we didn't get the.
Get a slide on it. They didn't get the deluxe
Mike-
bottle.
Mike, I don't think we can let you sit next to Carol anymore. You guys are having way too much fun there.
Okay, so. The bathroom at Bowerman, do you know if the bathroom is open? Bowerman Boat Ramp. I know that, I know the floating dock isn't there, but last time I was there,
That'd be the.
because when we go do the Bowerman tours and people ask us, where's the closest, I'm sorry, I'm focused on bathrooms.
Hey.
But, you know, when we do the.
You know, I mean, you know.
Bowerman,
You gotta have it.
bathroom is, and it's boat ramp.
First thing I put in my backpack.
Bathroom has been closed because the floating dock hasn't been in, so, but they could open the bathroom, right?
You would think. I will. For sure. That's gonna be easier than a map.
And continuing on that theme,
Oh. You're on a roll, Carol.
update on, the bathrooms at Meadow?
No update.
Oh,
I
update. Okay.
specifically looked into that though, because I knew you're gonna ask. We're still at the same barroom promise as the last time I told you. We're gonna get it, Carol. We've identified it. We're gonna fix
Okay.
the door. And
Oh.
we've got other projects we want to do in there as well.
All right, okay, cool. All right, thanks. That's it.
Any more questions for?
I'm just curious about the status of the bathroom there in that facility. Are you guys good?
They're still here, so I think we're covered.
Hey, one thing, to close us out, before we kick it over to Joe. I do want to say we're, pretty excited about some new NEPA, opportunities for, the Forest Service and the BLM to work together. And share some, categorical exclusions and some opportunities to do some planning together. So really looking, at spending some quality time with Jen, to look at anything we may have for recreation. And as you know, we're always trying to get some fuels reduction work done. So, that's been a recent change. It may create some additional opportunities. But that's something we'll just start to look into. And then I think for us, yeah, Bowerman would be the only update. That NEPA, we should be able to send that into, Fish and Wildlife Service to get the BA approved. We're right about that stage. So that's where that NEPA is. Thank you for the question about the WCF phase 2, Kelly. Golly, that thing. So working on that, and I may have to go all the way up to the regional office to get some ARC support to staff that, but it's definitely high on my list of priorities to get done because it's been languishing for a bit. I
The
think
only reason I brought
Yeah.
that up real quick was we had a conversation with Ben for our standing meeting last Friday, and I've been getting a lot of people on my team that are kind of like, what's the status of this? Because we've got projects that are tied back to it and short kind of time frame turnarounds, Joint Chiefs funding and stuff like that. And so we're anxiously waiting, so.
Yep, absolutely. He communicated that to me, which is why it moved its way up on my list and why I'm now going to ring up people around me and higher than me to see if I can get some help on it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. No, thank you. I think that's what we had. We have been doing a lot of really good work for these campground restorations, especially around High and Palm. Cliff's been really busy doing some GAOA stuff. We will be we put in some new restrooms in it's always about bathrooms, Carol, you're right. They're at Hellgate on 36. But we haven't quite got the ramp built into it yet, so we'll be finishing that work up really soon. Cliff's got that lined out. And I'll be looking to try and get some hazard tree mitigation work into some of the agreements. As you know, it's agreement season, so that's why I couldn't be there with you today. I'm up to my eyeballs in modifications and agreements. But we're gonna just try to put some hazard tree mitigation, because it is fuels work, into some of our agreements. So that might be a way for us to facilitate some of that work a little more easily than Cliff and his folks having to be everywhere and Mike. So that's what I had for you guys, and I think we're ready to kick it over to Joe and Sarah if you're ready.
Real quick, if there's any questions for Tara or Mike. That'd be great. Okay, Jim had a comment in the chat and I could read it, but Jim, why don't you go ahead and for the good of the order, let us know about your guys' issues down there with hazard trees.
Yeah, so I was just saying that we're also dealing with a lot of hazard trees. There was a Teams presentation this year that a lot of the Forest Service personnel attended, where they talked about duty of care specifically with hazard trees and developed wreck sites. And so we used a more formal process this year. In previous years, I'd walk through the campgrounds, and if I saw a tree that was obviously a problem, I'd arrange to get it taken out before we open campgrounds. This year we had forestry go through and do a more scientific assessment of which trees were in good shape and which ones maybe were struggling. And so we've got several trees flagged that maybe don't represent an imminent hazard. Like I wouldn't be afraid to put a tent next to them tonight, but we know that they're not going to make it. And so we do want to get them out of there. And we're going to be working with our fire crews and want to get out and do some saw training anyway to see if we can't get all those taken out. We're not going to lose all our firs, it doesn't look like, but we are planning to remove 38 trees across our 3 developed campgrounds.
Very good. All right, thanks, Jim.
Sarah's choice.
So it does look like we have Sarah with us. It looks like Sarah is in a vehicle. So we appreciate the extra effort, Sarah, to join us. So do you want to kick it off or do you want Joe to kick it off? What's your...
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I thank you for your patience with me. I just got out of a doctor's appointment, and I think we all know how difficult doctor's appointments are to get these days. So appreciate your patience. Joe, have you covered any of the topics on the list, or was it deferred? Okay.
We were just covering BLM and Six Rivers and the other Trinity side issues. So go ahead.
Perfect. Well, I'll start off with the Minersville boat ramp piece. Just go down the list on the agenda here. So first of all, we had really great turnout and feedback at our public meeting in February. We've been working to incorporate that feedback, working with the contract engineer. So that has been going well. I've had numerous conversations with the water board over the last couple months, several informal, a lot of information sharing, because I know that the parking piece of this and the parking proximity to the parking below high water line is a significant and meaningful issue for folks. And so based on that, I'm happy to say that the water board does seem to be open to the conversation about what parking looks like at Minersville. I would say more so than they were 10 years ago. They are not at this point, and it makes sense from a regulatory standpoint, this early in the process, they are not willing to commit to, yes, it's cool, everything's all right, but they are open to a conversation about how we mitigate the impacts of parking below high water, which is a really positive thing. And so I feel more hopeful about the conversation with the water board than I did 6 months or a year ago. So I think we can keep those conversations going. We are going to have to go through a 401 water quality permit with them. So I know there were some questions that came up at the Board of Supervisors meeting and afterwards around the use of the federal waiver from the water board. We are not eligible for that with Minersville because a Army Corps permit is also required. And so anywhere where an Army Corps permit is required, our projects that need a water board permit are ineligible for that federal waiver. So
you're talking about the federal lands permit that they're just, so, okay.
Yeah, and we had
when I talked to, I can't remember her name. She did not mention that. So that's totally new, because I sent a letter to them about the federal lands permit that they're currently considering. So I'll be interested to see what response I get, from their, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I had a meeting with their federal, their person who leads the forestry side, their Shasta Trinity Forest Service liaison, and their 401 permit program lead about which program Minersville would fall under. And they were very clear. It took less than 5 minutes for that piece of the conversation to happen, that because an Army Corps permit is required, it's absolutely out of the federal waiver category.
Yeah, but there are other activities in that federal lands permit category A that would require a Corps of Engineers permit. So that just seems inconsistent. Anyway, okay.
That's what I got from them. I think the good news is they're open to other types of mitigation. So what would be required by the Army Corps, and they're not saying this firmly at this point, but just to give you a sense, is other types of stormwater treatment activities. It does not have to be on site at Minersville. We can look at other areas around the lake where we can do some stormwater treatment and other types of restoration work to mitigate for the permanent impacts of the rehabilitation of the boat ramp. So that's what they're looking at right now. It's not a no, it's like, let's figure out how we mitigate the impacts.
So off-site mitigation is essentially what you're talking about.
They're very cautious. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't even use the word mitigation, because I know the state and the feds use that word differently. And he was very cautious to not say mitigation. So I'm not getting my state lingo quite right, because I'm not a state person. But yeah, essentially, Pat, that's the concept, but they specifically don't call it that because it has a legal meaning for the state that is very nitpicky. And so.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for talking to them. But Joe Cox and I did talk to one of the board members and the executive officer at that NCRP meeting, and specifically brought this up. And then I followed it up with a letter to them commenting on their document. So we'll see. So they said they would formally respond to me.
I would love to see what they send you, Carol, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. Any other questions on Minersville?
Not seeing any, Sarah.
Okay. All right. Our next topic is marina and houseboat permitting. So I believe the last conversation I had on this front was with Carol a week or two ago, and you were gonna kind of find some dates, times, availabilities. That was where we kind of left that conversation.
Yep, it's totally in my court. I was trying to figure out who all to coordinate with the meeting. Pete Finney's declined. He said he'll whatever we want to do with houseboats, but I figure it is Paul, Pat, and I, and Callie, meeting with you initially, and then with Rachel. I think that was where we left it. So yep, I apologize. I haven't figured out a date yet.
That's all right. It's that's wonderful. That's one thing that's not currently on my list. So I appreciate it, Carol. Make my day a little easy there. All right, are we good for the next topic, which is the Trinity Center Marina seasonal use? All right, I'm gonna hand that one over to Joe because I think we have some good news to share. So I'd like to let Joe share some good news.
Yeah, so we've been working with Eric Plosky and getting the O&M plan tied in with that one. So although the discussion early on was we're not going to be there at Trinity Center this summer, we were able to explain why this part of the permit and it needs to be there. I've got the O&M plan right here. We're about 98% done with review before signature. The big key thing there is, the plan and intent is to get the docks out there ahead of Memorial Day weekend. So that would be the 24th of May is what they're looking at, to having them out there. To have those facilities in place, and I believe it's through the end of October or the beginning of October, 10/1. Good news there, to provide those services for the community up there at Community Center.
So that would include gas?
Yeah, I believe that was, seasonal mooring, 30 slips, boat rentals, sales and retail fuels.
So, you know, in the past, they've had a store, so you'd go in and you'd pay for your gas. You know, the pumps were kind of on a separate little location. So any idea how they're gonna work that if they're not putting in the store? Or are they gonna put the store in?
I think the store's gonna be in. I think it's gonna be, as I'm reading it, it says seasonal mooring, 30 slips, boat rentals and retail sales and retail fuel. So I think the intent is to have the similar operation as what's been there in the past.
And for sure, do you know if it's gonna be in by May 24th?
That is what the O&M plan says. I do know that with it not being there for a while, and with the low lake levels, there was some talk about some damage to the facilities and things like that, that Eric was working on getting repaired ahead of that. You know, he recognizes that the holiday weekend is a big weekend for recreation and you know, all of that. So it's in his interest to get it up there too. So that's the intent.
I was thinking more about the parking lot. So with not having the boat slips in, you know, the parking lot is totally jammed. So people are parking along the side of the road and right now, and it's not even Memorial Weekend, because the parking lot gets full. And then, I mean, they're blocking traffic, like for emergency response, it's a nightmare. So, if the slips aren't in by Memorial Day, I'm just wondering, it's gonna be, it's berserk zoo. Because the parking lot fills up, all the parking spaces fill up, and then people park along the road itself coming down, and that's just like a barely a one-way road. So it's unsafe. So I would kind of really hope that the slips would be there by Memorial Day, so people wouldn't have, because all the locals, they have to take their boat down there every day because they can't leave it in a slip. So
Right.
they're clogging up the parking lots, the spaces that normally visitors would be eligible to use. So anyway, it's already kind of a zoo, so I'm hoping it could be less of a zoo. I think.
The commitment that Mr. Plotsky has made to the Forest Service is that the facilities will be operational by May 23rd.
Okay.
So if you don't see that being met, then please let us know as soon as possible.
I will do. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, then my phone turned off. Excuse me. I'm trying to juggle two devices in my car here. Apologies. Any questions about the marina before we move on to the trail? Okay, not seeing any thus far. So we're gonna take a little bit of a different approach to the Trinity Lake Trail NEPA in the interest of expediting this, because I know it's been an ongoing conversation for several years, and I'd like us to be able to move to a different phase of the conversation. So what I intend to do is, as soon as we get through Trinity camps, the Trinity Lake Trail NEPA is the next small NEPA project on the list. Our North Trinity County Risk Reduction Project, AKA Highway 3, is higher. So it's still not the number one priority, but it is the number one small project on the list. And so I intend to sign a decision that says, yep, the trail is good. It cannot be constructed until we get that Caltrans encroachment permit. But from a Forest Service analysis standpoint, we've decided to build a trail. The intent behind that would be to enable some of our partners, like either the RCD or the Watershed Center or the Trinity Trail Alliance, to proceed with applying for grants for the engineering design that is required for Caltrans to issue an encroachment permit. By having environmental review done, that does enable more grantors to give money for this type of work. And hopefully it will demonstrate the Forest Service is committed to seeing this trail project complete. So that is what I have as far as an update on the trail.
So do you have a estimate for when you'll have the signed decision for Trinity Camps?
This month.
Okay.
It is at the supervisor's office being reviewed. From my standpoint, it is good to go, but there might be a small amount of back and forth that needs to happen around, you know, some individual word choice. But it's very much almost over this finish line.
Okay, and then Todd has said that, you know, they have the trees marked at Hayward Flat, but I've been getting questions about the hazard trees at the airport. So do you have any idea when they would implement that part of the project?
I don't have an implementation timeline yet. Every kind of we're trying to pivot towards the implementation. Also, thank you very much to the RCD for your help in pivoting us towards implementation on that. And have you told them about the CCI grant, Kelly? Or is that something you wanted me to share?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, there was a CCI grant awarded for implementation of both Trinity Camps and Bowerman Fuel Break earlier this year, and the Trinity County RCD is our partner in that effort. So thank you very much, Kelly, to you and your staff for the work on that grant. So no, I don't have the specific timeline, but it's certainly high on the priority list given the FAA, you know, needs for that airport.
Right.
Hey, Sarah, when you sign the Trinity Lake NEPA, come in person to the next rec meeting afterwards, and I'll bring the gong and you can do the gong of accomplishment. Have a gong of accomplishment in our office. We do something like
A little ceremony of some sort, yeah.
ring the gong.
No.
A little celebration ceremony.
Sarah works for me. So I'll bring it, and you and Ross and Susan together can ring the gong.
That sounds awesome.
I was honored to have the accomplishment gong back in my life for a day.
I rang it yesterday for the business plan. Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Feels
Yeah.
good.
I miss that gong. So thank you, Jen. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
We've got to get there first, though. Man, we
Yeah,
gotta
that's
get there
right. But you're almost there. Like you can, it's almost tangible. So
So when you finish Trinity Camps, when you ring the gong, then your planning staff moves over to the Highway 3, the North Trinity Lake Communities Resilience, right? Okay. And I understand Pete's already working on that to a certain extent, doing the archaeology. Okay.
Yes, very much so. So our contracting grants and agreements deadlines are all coming up very soon. So money that we need to spend on surveys needs to be allocated. I mean, I don't recall the exact date, but certainly by the end of this month.
Okay.
Tara,
All
I saw you came on. Nice to see you, by the way.
nice to see you. I'm back from being gone for a bit. Just that the airport part, you know, we are helping Sarah's unit out with the implementation on Trinity Camps, and we'll be prioritizing you know, working with Sarah's staff on which campgrounds are going to stay open and some of those timelines. But certainly we will be prioritizing getting those the airport trees addressed quickly in the contract. So we'll be working on that this summer. And we've got Cody's out there, looking at it with Todd today. I think they're out there and the enterprise crews. So, yeah, so that will keep moving, Carol, and that's not lost on me that needs to be a priority for all the smart reasons of safety and accessibility to that airport. So we'll prioritize that contractually as well.
Yeah, because that Trinity Camps, that's a big project. So, yeah, I mean, but the squeaky wheel part that I hear is the airport. So, yeah, that would be great if you could fit that in among the timber sales. There's a new owner of KOA and he asked me about it specifically. So, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Oh, good point to make. And thank you, Tara, for the work that your team is doing to help with the implementation and lead out on that. Much appreciated. All right. And the North Trinity County project, I'll touch on that just very briefly. We are getting that started in the very preliminary stages of developing the proposed action. We had our field trip with the full collaborative and Fish and Wildlife Service in December. And I expect to see, another field trip here in the next few months on that. Once we have at least a footprint or an idea of a footprint hammered out. It's been a little bit of, how do you put this? A balancing act between getting over the finish line with Trinity Camps while also starting up a big new project. And so for necessity's reason to finish what we started, we got to finish up Trinity Camps before we really get rolling on North Trinity County wildfire risk reduction, aka Highway 3. But that is our next big one.
So maybe Tara or Mike know this. I mean, I was out trying to go on Rainier Road, which is part of, the North Trinity Communities Risk. So there was so many trees down across. You could go up Long Canyon and go up Mule Creek Road a little ways and then too many trees. And then I tried to come around the other way, went up Rainier Road and tried to go up on the Forest Service Road, too many trees down. Do you know if the Forest Service has cleared that road to even get up there yet?
I don't know. My guys didn't.
Okay, so you might want to have your staff to either TRMU or NRA look at that, because right now you could forget trying to do a field trip. You can't even drive down that road. So it's, that area got really hit hard. Paul will tell you, at that storm in March, there's so many trees down up there. And so I don't think you can drive down that road right now, which is, as far as I understand, is part of the risk reduction project that you're talking about.
Thank you, Carol. I'll be sure and follow up on that. Good heads up.
Are you pulling resources from the Shasta Management Unit as well for North? Because I know that a lot of that project goes all the way up into Parks Creek and all that stuff. So is that like a combined effort, or is it mostly being handled by the NRA?
Oh, I would say since it's one of the highest priority projects on the forest right now, it is a combined effort. The NRA, the National Recreation Area, is leading that effort, but we have had a lot of engagement from the TRMU and the Shasta McLeod Management Unit, and our supervisor's office has also been quite engaged in providing support and assistance along with the landscape team. So it is a big lift, but we've gotten a lot of good engagement and assistance on that big lift thus far.
Great, thank you.
All right, Sarah. Well, thank you for all that good information. Good to see you smiling and
it's
celebrating somewhat here on progress and getting things moving forward. So very much appreciated. Anything else, Sarah or Joe, that you wanted to share with us today?
Oh, Bowerman Barn.
Yeah, that's next. I just wanted to.
What's that?
So yeah, you could roll into Bowerman Barn. That's next on the agenda. There you go.
So I know that Pete is working on the statement of work for the engineering component of Bowerman Barn.
He
Um,
told me, yeah, just so you know, I mean, I asked him about that. He told me he hasn't been able to work on it because he's been doing the North Trinity Lake risk reduction. So I understand the priorities, but yeah, when I emailed him last week, he said he hasn't had time. So they have not progressed on hiring the engineer to design the foundation. Yeah, but
That's
the money, yeah, the money got transferred from the
Yeah.
rack.
I think you're spot on, Carol.
Yeah. And I
It's
get
on
it. There's priorities. Like you say, there's that deadline he's got to meet for the, getting the surveys done. So.
Okay. That it for the Bowerman Barn update?
Well, I'll just say, so we have a docent tour scheduled for Memorial Day weekend and Mike sent his crew out yesterday and did all the weed whacking, so that the volunteers totally appreciate that we didn't have to get the 85-year-old out there. But there was some damage to the barn. Somebody ran over the, brochure holder and somebody broke another one of the, kind of access the handles on the back doors. So I'll go down and fix those. But yeah, so anyway, people are starting to go to the barn. I mean, weather's been nice, but yeah, it's getting beat up again.
Thanks, Carol.
All right. Thank you for the update, Carol.
Oh, and somebody donated an actual hay trolley and a hay hook. The Historical Society gave me, so for our docent tours, now we actually can show people what they look like.
Nice.
That's
come from,
Yeah, for Kelly.
Yeah.
And the I got both the hay trolley and the hay hook.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
That's really cool.
Okay, any questions for Sarah, Joe, NRA? Not seeing any, Sarah. You're off the hook.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, GAOA update. I think I did hear Tara maybe reference the GAOA. Maybe that was just in passing. Anybody have a GAOA update for us?
No, it's one of those, so is the Forest Service doing anything at all to get Bowerman into the GOA program? Because that's the consistent question.
Sarah, question?
I guess.
Sarah? I guess you're not off the hook.
That's okay.
Any effort to get the GAOA into
I can speak to some of it. I don't know, perhaps Joe has heard more on the recreation, like forest wide calls. So the last I had heard, nationwide, a lot of the GAOA projects were running over budget due to cost increases during COVID. And so a lot of the requests that we have gotten from the national office around GAOA projects are around basically redoing the budget for them in light of current market conditions, and then nationally trying to move money around to meet those existing commitments for GAOA, to make sure that those projects can get to completion. But there have not been, as far as I know, and I could be not correct, any new calls for new GAOA projects. Joe, can you please fix my statement?
I don't think I'm gonna fix your statement, so you got.
Okay, because I mean, the reason I keep asking was because at one point, Sally had tried to explain that there's a process in GAOA to come up with phased projects. That would include, she was proposing to put in the HERS, lookout and other things that qualify, that are in the Shasta Trinity National Forest that qualify for being on the National Register of Historic Places, which includes the barn. And that it would be a bigger project that's not like a 1 year, but it's like once it's in the program, it can qualify for subsequent years. So that's kind of what I was working on, was just what Sally had recommended. So, and it may not be an option anymore, like you say, if there's no new calls for projects, but she had thought that we would rank higher competitively nationally if it was a bundled project and it was phased over time. So anyway, I keep asking.
No, I appreciate that, Carol. I am not aware of that, but I can certainly reach out to Sally and Pete on that. But I think Sarah's comment earlier about how a lot of these projects kind of nationwide went over budget, and then they were kind of reallocating funds to try and clean that up, or reallocating funds to address the overruns on the projects nationwide. I think that's the best of my understanding. The last when GAOA first came out, there was calls for projects early on and somewhat regularly, and we were successful initially. And then I don't think we've been very successful getting those funds, as they're trying to make sure that the projects that have been committed to are getting across the finish line.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on GAOA? Moving on to partner updates. Amanda. There she
Hi,
is.
everybody.
Yeah.
All right, I'll show my face. Trying to multitask here. Well, we didn't get to check in with you guys last time, and this is the season where everything is ramping up, so there's a lot to share. And geez, where to begin? So we did successfully have our second annual Spring Break Day Camp in April, and it had 64 kids attend. It was 5 days. It was great. It was at East Weaver Campground. A lot of success stories. So we were really happy with how that turned out. And now we're getting into our field work. So we've already been actually having staff join other partners on some trail work to support the work. So we've already been out to the New River Trail with Robbie, helped facilitate that from the Forest Service side, and the CR College of the Redwoods group that came out through Dennis Houghton. So we did some work with them. We've got our staff training this weekend. So I'm preparing for that. And then next weekend is our first volunteer opportunity that's also dovetailing as a pretty big staff training weekend on Waldorf Trail. So just about all of our staff were able to attend next weekend. So that's great. We've got a solid crew of folks that are going to put a lot of work on the Waldorf Crossing Trail in on your way to Hobo Gulch. So kind of like the southwestern side of the Alps. We're really excited about that. It's a great time of the year to be on that trail. So this time around, last year we just did day hikes in each day and car camp, but this time around we're going to backpack in and stay in, because then we'll get a lot more work done. We're using the opportunity to finish up a crosscut saw certification for 3 of our staff that got rained out in January with Eric. So they'll finish up with Jotham this weekend. And just a lot of great stewardship trail maintenance training with Jotham for all of our staff. So that's going to be a really fruitful weekend, I believe. We'll be supporting the Forest Service this summer with tabling at trailheads. So Jotham will also help train up our guides for, best use and information and things that we can convey to users as they hike into the wilderness this summer. So we're hopeful that that just mitigates impacts when you talk to people on the way in. It's a really good thing to do. And just help the Forest Service collect user data and whatever else needs to happen, pass out permits to those who forgot to pick up a permit, all that good stuff. So, so we'll be helping to staff those through Memorial Day weekend, July 4th, and Labor Day weekend. We've got our first backcountry adult stewardship trip up Canyon Creek in mid-June. I'm actually not sure if this is going to happen yet because we haven't really had any signups.
Oh, wow.
We have scheduled these sort of trips at this time before and had, 8 adults volunteer signups to do arduous trail work for 5 days. But I'm just wondering if this time around it was just too much in the midst of everything. So it's kind of like right at the tail end of graduation season. It's during Father's Day and summer solstice. So I'm not sure. It's always kind of like a gamble. You try to plan something for volunteer stewardship work. And so we'll see how it goes. But man, it would be awesome to get up to Canyon Creek. But I'm actually going to talk with Eric Fleitz later today to just kind of see some opportunities. Maybe we reschedule it or anyway, there's lots of ideas there. But if you have anyone in mind that might want to join us, we've got it pretty flexible where people can sign up for just the weekend, they can sign up for just 5 days or whatever. We're pretty flexible. So we'll see how that goes. We might be able to pull off like a 3 or 4 person trail crew if we have no volunteers. So we'd love to spend time in that section above the trail junction. So once you pass the trail junction that goes up to Boulder Creek Lakes, and there's this crazy straw pile of old growth across the trail. I mean, you literally have to climb over like a couple of 5-foot diameter trees that are crossing over each other. So even if we just got a few days on, I mean, that might take a day or two, just that one spot with all those trees. So it'd be awesome to work on it. And there was the avalanche damage in the upper watershed too. So we'll see how that goes. That trip starts on June 15th. So again, if you have anyone in mind, spread the word or get in touch with me and I can share some flyers with you to hand out or something. After that, we're going to really launch into our youth programming for the summer. We've got 2 3-day trips planned for 9 to 11-year-olds. That's one more than last year.
Oh.
And we've got 2 trips for the, basically like 12 to 14-year-old age range. And those are 5-day trips. This year, I believe we'll be able to send one of those up to the Russians, which I'm really excited. We've gotten our Klamath National Forest permit, and we've been working Shelby and Adam up in the Klamath to do some volunteer work with those kids, something simple like a day of brushing along the trail, and they'll be joining us. And so a lot of the same things that we do on the Shasta Tees and the Trinity Alps, but it'll just be really neat to get some of these kids in another area nearby and start working with other Forest Service partners. So I'm really excited about that, just expanding a little more. And some of these kids, at that 14-year-old age range, they've been with us a few times. So it's nice to introduce them now to a different wilderness that's also in our backyard. So we've got 2 teen internships this year, one in addition from last year. So we have our usual teen trail crew that goes out with Eric Fleitz and Daniel Aglopay every year for 7 days, and they will be in the Boulder Lakes area doing mitigation rehab work after the fire in that area. They did a lot of work there 2 years ago. And it's a good time to get back in and work again on the rock work and any slope erosion control and things like that before, after like 4-ish years after a fire goes through, the tree fall is a little more risky than right after a fire sometimes. So I think this is the year we're going to get them in there before it gets into that window and see what happens. We also have a teen field science trip that we're organizing with Michael Kaufman and Cal Poly Humboldt. These teens will be able to hike into Morris Meadows and help with it's a CDF grant for Cal Poly doing a Klamath Mountain botany survey. So they'll be doing botany surveys with Michael Kaufman and Cal Poly staff, and then also meeting up with Cal Poly geologists that'll be up at Emerald Lake taking lake core sediment samples. So they're going to be doing geology and botany, and that's in July. So that's really exciting. We've got a few day hikes for youth as well. Ages 6 through 15 is what we offer. There's just a little bit of room on every trip still, and our deadline's May 15th. So it's pretty classic. We get like 40% of our applications on May 15th. So we'll see how it all goes. But there is some room still if you know any more kids that want to join. If we didn't put a deadline, I wonder what would happen, right? So we've got an adult day hike scheduled in June to help brush the stock trail up Swift Creek. It's about a mile up. And we haven't had any sign up for that one yet either, but that one's also a really easy one to just send out a small crew of staff to do the brushing. But that'll be a great Saturday hiking up Swift Creek if anyone wants to join us for that. And gosh, we'll probably be working with Bigfoot Trail Alliance just by supporting them with some of our staff in the Yule Bullies this year as well. And we also have what we call all ages trips. So it's really geared for families that want to get experience together. We've got a couple of day hikes scheduled up Lake Eleanor, as well as Weaver Bolly down to East Weaver Lake. And these are just, I might be able to take my 4-year-old on a couple of these. So it's really designed for people learning how to go backpacking. And a lot of times parents want to go with their young children. So that's what we try to accommodate. And then we'll also have a Boulder Lakes weekend, the first weekend of August. And all of those trips will have some element of stewardship, most likely brushing. Beaver Bolly Trail, we might do a little bit of rebenching because that trail needs some erosion slope control. And then we take a break for fire season. August 3rd and 4th is that weekend I talked about to Boulder Lakes, and that's as late as we've scheduled in a few years. A lot of times there is a fire that starts in our neck of the woods. It's like July 29th or July 31st. And so we took a gamble to schedule that weekend, but we'll see how it goes. And then we pick it up again later in September with our adult stewardship trips. We've got a weekend scheduled. We'll be working on Lily Pad Lake Trail. We've been there every year now since 2019, just maintaining the trail. So we'll get back in there with the group of adults. We've also got another 7-day backcountry trip scheduled at the very end of September into October 5th. That's also coordinated with Bigfoot Trail Alliance. We're still determining the location, but it most likely will be something like Rush Creek Lakes and also Long Gulch. And I'm talking about the Rush Creek that's up north. So we still have to scout it out, and it's later in the season. So, maybe other work had gotten done that might allow us to shift locations to maximize what needs to happen. But the Bigfoot Trail Alliance has helped us recruit for that trip, and we've had 17 people sign up already. As of a month ago, we had 17 people to sign up for that trip. So it seems like the fall time, shoulder seasons, is just a really good time to do some of these volunteer trips. And so it might turn into 2 groups. We don't want to turn that kind of volunteer power away. So that's why I mentioned 2 different locations. Logistically, the Forest Service is helping provide pack support for one trip, but then we'll have to figure out pack support for the other trip. So we're still throwing some ideas around. And then we'll finish off the season with car camping in the Coffee Creek area, doing some trail work up there. Again, we don't know exactly where yet because I'm just going to wait to see what Eric, what kind of work you guys all get done this summer as far as where we could plug in at that time of the year. And hopefully the weather will be in our favor. So I guess another thing that's pretty exciting is that I'm meeting with Kip from Six Rivers next week and Sally, and we're going to talk about doing some Six Rivers projects. So that's definitely on the docket as well. And that feels good to expand and support our neighboring forests and doing more trail work. So that's a big new growth piece. I think that's it. There's a lot going on right now, you guys. Whew.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda.
Hey,
Yeah.
Amanda, Sorry, Amanda, I'm looking at your website, and so like for the Swift Creek Day Hike, June 29th, I'm thinking about North Lake, getting the information out to people. Cause I can put it on the North Trinity Lake Facebook page and website and all that stuff. But I mean, so if they wanted to volunteer for like the September and October stuff up in the North Lake, do they still need to sign up by May 15th?
No, it's a little confusing because our season, we used to be this sort of 6-week thing, right? But we're growing so much that we're still figuring out how to be more clear. On our website, we do say with our autumn time trips, our deadline is not till August 15th for those. And
Okay.
honestly, you can sign up any point. It's just that we do buy food at a certain point. And it is nice to know and kind of nail people down to a commitment. So, but as we get closer to a trip and there's still room, we still advertise it and put articles in the paper and reach out to our partners and things like that. But we're very flexible. But I would love to share. I'll share maybe just some simple flyers with you. You can just put on a Facebook page and things like that.
Yeah, because I mean, I could see, I can see people up in our area that they'd be interested in helping the brushing out along the Poison Creek Trail and the Swift Creek Stock Trail and stuff. So, but I don't
Yeah.
think they don't have any clue, so they don't
I
know.
know. Okay. We can definitely help with that. And, those are so simple. We could just have some sack lunches ready for them and we all just meet at the trailhead at 8 a.m. or something like that. And it's just so simple for people to jump on board. And there's not much logistics to iron out because with the adult trips, they drive themselves, they take care of themselves. So it's really easy. Yeah, I'll definitely send some information for that. Thank you.
Okay, I'll keep in touch. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jim has his hand up.
Jim,
Yeah, Amanda, first of all, just applause for all the stuff you're doing. Those are a lot of great projects, and I love all the stuff for the kids. You mentioned that done some saw training with Eric, and I'm not sure I spelled his name correctly, but it sounded like you were saying Jotham had also helped you with
Yeah.
some saw training. Yeah, so Eric did a great crosscut training for our CCC crew last year, but we've had trouble pinning him down on a date this year. I guess he's staying pretty busy. So if there's someone else who could help with that training, I'm wondering if that's an option for us. We'd be happy to pay him, do whatever we need to do to work it out. But what I've got is some of our trails, there's a possibility of spotted owls. We are not at the top of the priority list for getting the owl survey crews out to clear the trail and say it's okay to use chainsaws there, even if it's not wilderness. So we like having that crosscut training for our Cs so that if they need to buck a log off the trail, they have an option that doesn't require the use of the chainsaws. So yeah, if you've whether you put it in the chat or message me with it, if you've got some contact information for somebody else I might could get with to arrange that training, that would be awesome.
Well, I mean, honestly, I guess, Mike, you're in the room. So Jotham is Eric's counterpart at the Forest Service. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I know, I don't know how their levels of certification is. Anyway, Mike, do you have something to speak to on this?
Sure. First thing is, do you have non-NFSC dollars, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. First hurdle down.
Yeah. I've got a rec budget that's not unlimited, but it's enough to cover that.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely getting into the time where we don't have hours. We might have minutes, and we're rapidly getting towards seconds. But I can shoot you a contact for a gal who is a certifier that's non-agency. She's retired, and she might be able to help you out. But I don't know that Eric or Jotham is going to be able to break away at this point until the smoke's cleared in November. I'll definitely check with Eric to make sure his schedule is in fact full. If it's not, I'll have him call you, but I'll send you an email link or a contact link for Dolly to help you out.
That would be great. No, are you talking about Dolly Chapman?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if we'd be able to get her up here. I go to Dolly's saw maintenance shop every year, but I am not certified to do the to sign other people off to use a crosscut saw. You know, I'm a bee bucker myself. Yeah, and to be clear, Eric was wonderful when he came over last year. But you know, and I do understand, you know, we're not his district, and you've got lots of work for him. I'm just trying to look for other options.
Sure.
Yeah, and just keep in touch with him. He does things through the winter, and yeah, at this point, I can't even hardly have a phone call with him sometimes, even though we have projects going. So they're busy, but I know he went over to the Bigfoot Trail Alliance folks sometime in December. So if you plan ahead of time and just have him keep you on his radar, he can kind of hopefully rope you in if that's what ends up happening, maybe. I don't know.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Amanda, thank you very much for a very robust report. A lot going on.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, any questions, Amanda? Not seeing any. All right, thanks again. I don't see any Trinity Trail Alliance folks or Watershed Research Training.
I think it's me.
It's Kelly. Yep, you're up.
I'm up. I don't have a lot to report. We've been doing sort of minimal work on the trail system. We're just utilizing the last of our RAC funding to get the kiosk for Mackenzie Gulch, the bottom of Mackenzie Gulch trailhead done. I think it's built, and now I think we are needing to schedule the actual installation. So we had talked about potentially going over and just making sure that you're okay with where we're thinking about putting it. So maybe I can reach out to you and set up a time for us to go and look at that.
Yeah.
Eric, who sort of copied the general design of several of the other trail kiosks that are like on the BLM side and on the Forest Service side of some of the major trailheads. He sort of duplicated that design and was going to actually drop some, you know, essentially drop some blueprints, because I know that Jack Leinhardt wants to put one at the top of sweepstakes as well. We may have a little bit of extra materials and stuff like that. So I'm going to be in contact with Jack about that potential as well. As was mentioned, grants and agreements deadline for the forest is coming up close. So we're trying to get all of our RAC projects together, including our newest re-upped Weaver Basin Trail System maintenance and GIS project in, so that can get funded as soon as possible. And I don't think I have anything else really on the top of my head that's imminent right now. So we'll have to get with you about talking about that with the Community Forest Steering Committee with regard to the West Weaver Creek bridges. It's been on our list. It's just funding issue. So, and I know that Jack had talked about potentially having some materials and stuff for some of the decking and whatnot, but we just haven't coordinated with him on any of that.
And then has there been any movement? I have not checked in with my folks about this, but now that I'm seeing you, I'm remembering what's it called? Loudon Field project?
Oh, the Loudon Meadows?
Yeah, did that go anywhere?
We have made some, I mean, we've gotten some good, I guess, feedback with regard to like DWR, and we've been in contact with Wildlife Conservation Board, who was probably the folks that we were gonna chase money for this planning process on. But the person that I got at Arville has basically sort of been otherwise predisposed. So I don't know how much progress he's actually made on that as of late.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything from him for a little bit about that, but he's been ramping up on many of these other pieces and sort of some of the trainings that the Watershed Center has been doing and some of the work that they've been working on with regard to CV ditch and stuff in the upper watershed. So it hasn't been a complete focus, and in all honesty, I'm a little bit nervous about that funding source because we're having some issues with them otherwise on some other unrelated projects. That's, so I haven't really like been putting my thumb on him.
That's totally fine.
So, but it's still kind of at the back of our mind and we would like to see something happen there.
Yeah, it's a good spot for stuff,
Mhm,
whatever that turns out to be,
mhm.
but it could be better than it is.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And regarding that, there was a email that came out, and I don't know if it actually ended up reaching you or not, but there was an email about a big tree that came down on the back, on the road in the backside of the BLM property nearer to the river. And I don't know whether or not that somebody punted to us, but we didn't really have any way to deal with it at the time.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that was something that actually got addressed or not. But it was like across that sort of access road that's closer to the river. Some of the spoils, like some of those rock piles and stuff are.
Yeah.
I gather, but
We can do it.
and I believe it was on BLM property. I think
All right,
that's
thank you,
all I have.
Kelly. Any questions for Kelly? Seeing none? Any other topics of interest?
Quick, when you put that kiosk in, if you need help with like a track or something, holler, come, we're just right there.
Oh, okay.
Hold it up for you or something.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. I will make sure, I need to connect, I saw it out. It's pretty much constructed, so I think it's just now a matter of finding time, and so, and making sure that where I have in my mind is a good spot for it will be, you know, it's kind of behind the rocks, kind of nearer to where the actual trail begins. I think would have been a pretty good spot, but we can go out and walk it.
Yeah, the main thing is it just has to be within the footprint that the archaeologist has approved.
Right, so that's why I want to,
Yeah,
that's why I want to go out with you and make sure that that's appropriate.
copy that.
So once I have that straightened out with my team internally, we'll reach out to you and find a day.
Okay, cool.
Other topics of interest?
Like Tara popped on.
Terry, I see a hand. There we go.
Hey, just want to make sure you're all invited to our partner barbecue, which will happen on June 6th for lunch. It's our second annual. I know some of you came last year. Carol, I know you'll come because Mike's cooking and his folks are cooking. So there you go. Jen, be great. I know you guys came last year. So that'll be great. We'll be joined by, not only our partners, but also the North Zone Forest supervisors will be there, as well as, our Joint Chiefs team will be there as well. So that'll be super exciting for us. So I wanted to start with that invitation, and I'll get you a letter out with the time and everything. And then also wanted to follow up with a thank you for those of you that participated in the GMR, the General Management Review that we had here on the forest. I know some of you took time out of your busy day to go and visit with the regional office team that came up, and just wanted to let you know how much we, Sarah and I both really appreciate that. So thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you for inviting us. That was very useful. It was a good interaction. I really appreciated that.
Good. Thank you again. So looking forward to our next big barbecue. So it's gonna be great.
All right, thank you, Terry. Did Sarah have her hand up or no?
She was clapping.
Oh, she was clapping. There we go. I knew I saw a hand.
I was applauding Tara and agreeing with her.
Great,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, Carol, do you have anything?
Yeah, one quick thing. So, Trinity Lake Lions have the 50th annual fishing derby at Carville Pond,
Aye,
May 18th,
18th.
which is always a big, if you have kids that wanna, get. Look at me. I know. They give out free fishing gear for the first 100 kids, and literally they have hundreds of kids. They have all kinds of competitions. So anyway, if you have kids that are interested in fishing, the fishing derby is May 18th.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Agenda building, anything for next meeting that we want to make sure we get on the agenda to
What's the date for the next meeting?
It will be July 12th.
July 12th, yeah.
It's really hard to think about.
Yeah, that's a couple
It
months.
feels far away, but I know.
Really not.
It'll be here.
I think it's far away. I agree.
Well, I see a hand, Amanda.
Well, I just want to say that I might not even be available. That's gonna be in the thick of everything, so.
Crazy citizen.
Understood. Well, if something comes to mind,
It would be cool to hear from Jack about his thoughts on the single track summit
Hmm,
and like some of his takeaways.
yeah, that would be a great topic.
okay. And Jack is.
Jack Leinhardt.
My heart, Watershed Center.
They
Yep.
sort of hosted it.
Yeah. Very good. We can do a little follow-up, get him on the agenda.
Yes.
If he's available. Okay, well, I think we have reached the end. So thank you all for your participation and great information sharing.
Yep, thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
And thanks for coming up.
Yeah.
we are officially adjourned.
Have a fantastic day, everybody.
Thank
Alright,
you.
All right. Bye.
But I forgot my government phone at home.
Oh, boy.
So
Yeah, you are free. You are free. You might as well be on vacation.
I logged into the computer real quick to like send something. Then my husband, who doesn't work on Fridays, texted and was like, you know, you left your work phone here, right? And I was like, yeah. So, and I was like, and